Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and Mega Evolution is right around the corner in the Pokemon TCG, and I'm so excited for it. Of course, Mega Evolution is introducing, well, the Mega Evolutions, or I guess reintroducing them, which are now 3 prize Pokemon of any stage, and they are pretty interesting here. We're going to be talking about some of them, but then today we're going to be talking about the top 10 cards in the set, and there's a few weird things we are going to be talking about here today. And I'm going to be breaking down the top 10. I will say there's like 6 or 7 cards that are really, really like solid in my opinion, slash really good. And then, the rest of the top 10 is still decent, but not like crazy in my opinion. I'll kind of break it down as we get there. And then I do have some honorable mentions, which are like kind of weird cases as we'll kind of get to here. But overall, the set obviously introducing or slash reintroducing the Mega Pokemon, which are 3 prizers here, which in general are okay. I'd say they're not crazy. The worst of them are playable, and then or like kind of playable, and then the best of them are like decent but not like absurd. And then outside of that, the single prizes are like kind of whatever. They're nothing spectacular, but there are some decent ones here. And then the trainers are where it's at. The trainers are so good in this set. Um, there's a bunch that are like kind of crazy, including one that recently led to a ban, which I guess I made a video on. I've actually not recorded it at the time of recording this one, but there was a ban announced in the Pokemon TCG. So check out that video after watching this one regarding these new cards. Not any of these being banned, but a different card. But anyways, the trainers are super strong. And let's just hop right in though. And I'm going to be looking at mostly Pokemon Proxies, which has like a list of all the cards except for one. And so, that has English translations. A lot of people ask about it when I don't mention it. But then the first card here, the first honorable mention is Psyduck. Psyduck is not in the set. Also, it's like kind of specific. But it's a card here with the ability Damp, and it says Pokemon with an ability that causes that Pokemon to knock itself out don't have that ability. This is a basic Pokemon, search well for Blooded by Poffin, all those good stats there. And of course, here it's a counter to Dusknoir, the Dusknoir line, as well as also, I guess, Magneton. Ultimately, it's a card that is really good against Dusknoir, which is a very good card with like Drag Bolt and stuff. So Psyduck is a really nice tech option. Again, it's not actually in the set. It's a promo card. It's a I think it's a blister pack promo or something. I'm not super familiar with the Pokemon TCG products, but that's how you'll be able to get it. So it's like pretty decent, I guess. It's also pretty specific though. So I generally don't like rating niche cards super high. But anyways, this card is pretty solid as a counter to Dusknoir, kind of like I'd say Shaman, similar role to that, where it's not like integral to a deck, but it can be nice there. Then we have the first honorable mention here. This is Mega Gardevoir EX. The honorable mentions aren't in any particular order here. I have 3 of them. Mega Gardevoir EX. The reason it's not actually on the list, but why it isn't honorable mentioned here is so it has this first stack, doesn't really do much. It is a Mega, the first Mega here. 360 HP actually is like higher than any Pokemon ever. It is not the highest. It won't be the highest when it gets printed because Mega Venusaur has more HP, but it's still very high here. But then the attack Mega Symphonia for 1 Psychic does 50 for each Psychic energy attached to all your Pokemon. Mega Gardevoir EX is able to one-shot pretty much anything. That being said, I'd say it's like a strong slash decent tech within Gardevoir EX. Gardevoir EX is a good deck. It is getting better with the set, in my opinion. Although it's not like drastically better than this set as much as I thought. I guess I don't know. We'll talk about that more later. But Mega Gardevoir EX is a card that is, I'd say, on the caliber of Jellicent EX within Gardevoir EX, where it's like a pretty solid option within the deck, but it's not like you have to play it, and it's not like it's absurd. It's more splashable. It can just be a one of in the deck, but you also kind of want to be playing more Psychic Energies than you normally would. And has a bit of a different playstyle than your other attackers, which could be good or could be bad. Ultimately, though, it's like pretty good within Gardevoir EX. That being said, Gardevoir EX will be rotating. This list is mostly based on it's kind of tried to be how good the cards are in general. Some of it is specific meta things, but some of it's like non-specific meta things. And yeah, this one is very specific to the meta. When Gardevoir rotates, I think it's going to be terrible. I think outside of Gardevoir, this card is pretty terrible. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this card. Outside of Gardevoir EX, where I think it's pretty decent, and honestly might be the best Pokemon in the set if you like kind of just think of it as a Pokemon within Gardevoir EX. And in terms of the amount of play it'll see competitively, but again, it's not because Mega Gardevoir EX is good, it's because regular Gardevoir EX is good. But anyways, it's a pretty solid card here, and there are different ways to judge it and put it different places on the list or off the list, but it's pretty good here. Then we have another card, Mega Lucario EX. This card is kind of similar. Mega Lucario EX, I believe it has been the best performing meta in Japan, or Mega in Japan, in their meta game is that's kind of developed outside of, I guess, Mega Gardevoir EX, which again is like a small piece within Gardevoir EX and only sometimes there. But Mega Lucario is its own deck here. For one fighting, you do 130, and then attach up to 3 basic fighting energies from your discard to your bench Pokemon and any way you like. That's pretty good. Accelerating energy is like nice. It's not like insane, but it's decent here. Then Mega Brave for 2 fighting, 270 for 2 fighting. Can attack next turn with Mega Brave is okay. Ultimately, it's neither of these attacks are absurd, but they're pretty solid here. And then 340 HP again is like good. It's a Mega, but it's good here. It is weak to Psychic, which is it's bad, right? It's bad. But ultimately, this card is like fine. But then the fighting support around it is like super good. There's a few cards I'm not going to talk about in this video, or slash that are on this list that are like good fighting support. You got like the Hariyama, I think, in the Garganacl, which are like okay. I think the Garganacl is pretty bad, but not horrendous, not unplayable. And then the Hariyama is like pretty. It's like all right with this. And then there's some other good support pieces as well. So ultimately, the support around it, just like with Mega Gardevoir, Mega Lucario is going to be good because of the support around it, not because of it by itself, but by itself, it's like it's okay. So Mega Lucario, like decent here, and also the other megas outside of, I think I have like 1 or 2 in this list. In the actual top 10, all the other megas, except for Mega Abomasnow. I think Mega Abomasnow is like pretty terrible, but I think the other, what 5 megas are like in a similar realm to these. I guess I think Mega Absol isn't so good either, but like Mega Mawile and other ones like that are like kind of in this similar tier. And as we'll see, there are some other megas at the lower end of this top 10 as well, where they're like okay. And Mega Lucario is okay as well, but again, the support around it I think is going to elevate it to a decent deck, probably a bit of a meta deck for the first set, and then we'll kind of see from there. Nothing crazy, but all right here. But moving to the number 10 card, we have the first trainer on this list here, and this is Iron Defender. Iron Defender here says during your opponent's next turn, your middle Pokemon take 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. You can play as many of these as you want because it is an item, and it's going to be reducing your damage, and it like stacks. So you could like theoretically reduce by 120 damage. That's like not super likely. And obviously it's only a one-time thing. And also it's only your metal Pokemon, so presumably you're going to be having other Pokemon that aren't metal in play. But metal's a decent type here. Within standard, Goldengo EX is very good, then Archaludon EX is also okay. Goldengo EX is a lot better than Archaludon, but I'd say this works better with Archaludon being like a more tanky deck there, and a bit of a slower deck without like these big turns we need a lot of pieces to get knockouts. But anyways, Iron Defender is like decent. I don't think it's an amazing card. Obviously, at spot 10, it's not crazy here. But reducing damage is nice. Being able to like play a bunch of these can win you games. It's like pretty low commitment, so it's a decent card. Taking less damage in general is also good. So overall, Iron Defender is like it's an all right card here. I don't expect it to see too much meta play, but I think I could definitely see it being played within metal decks. So it's an all right card here. Not crazy, but it's definitely decent. Then the number 9 card here is one that I kind of had struggles ranking, I guess. It's Ace of Roll's Mischief. This is a supporter here, saying you can use this only if your opponent has 2 or fewer prize cards remaining. You choose one of your Pokemon in play during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon EX. That like wording is kind of weird. But anyways, this card protects their Pokemon. EX are, most of the Pokemon doing damage in the game right now. There are single prizers, but the new Megas are still EXs, and I don't think Pokemon's going to be veering away from EXs anytime soon, so that's not really a concern with this card. And then ultimately, this card is, protecting your Pokemon completely, which is cool. Generally, these defensive supporters aren't super good, but they can be okay. And this is complete immunity, and it's not unconditional. You do need your opponent to have 2 or fewer prizes remaining. And I will say this is kind of clunky with megas. Even if you have 3 prizes, your opponent might be able to like completely ignore that. But ultimately, it should be usable at the end of games a decent amount. I think it's kind of a similar supporter to Briar. It's a defensive supporter as opposed to like an aggressive supporter. Generally, aggressive supporters will be better, but also this isn't I'd say Briar is like, more specific. So I definitely would compare those two cards. In terms of what they do, they're different, but in terms of power level, and they have some similarities, I do think they are kind of comparable there. Ultimately, though, protecting one of your Pokemon kind of like let you win the game. You need to play kind of slower, not bench too many Pokemon to make good use of it. This card. Sometimes you might need to, if you only have one Pokemon to play, you could spam this and be like invincible. That's like pretty sketchy though, because you need to be like knocked out a few times and then like end up with only one Pokemon in play, and end up with only one Pokemon in play without like playing Professor Toad's scenario, right? Because if you do that, then you're not playing Aceral's Mischief. So ultimately, I don't know. This card's interesting here. Immunity can be really good. It can be difficult to use during the late game. You could be hit by Ionos. You could be looking for boss, and so then you're not really gonna be able to play this card. But it's definitely an interesting card here. Could be really good. I don't expect it to be super good, but it could be, and it could just be all right as well, like a niche tech. Then we have the first Mega actually on the list here, which is Mega Kangaskhan EX. Mega Kangaskhan is pretty interesting here with its ability Errand Run. If it's in the active, once during your turn, you can draw two. You can't use more than one Run Errand ability each turn. It does have 300 HP, highest in the game, and tied for highest ever, I believe, on a basic. And this card is pretty cool with its attack as well. For 3 colors, doing 200. Flip coin 2, you get tails. It does 50 more for each heads here. Then your retreat cost is 3, which isn't great. You can't use the air balloon with this and be able to retreat unless you have an energy, which is bad. We could use Latias EX here, which is pretty nice here. Mega Kangaskhan EX, I think, is mainly used for its draw, but its attack's also pretty decent. It's a pretty well-rounded Pokemon here, kind of like Mew EX. Obviously, it's not a squishy target that's a pivot. It's like the opposite of that. It's super tanky. It does give up, 3 prizes, so it can be a liability. I've seen this put into like Regible and stuff. But then again, it is going to be a liability in that deck because it's going to be, something that your opponent can knock out to potentially win the game, especially if you give up like a single prize or a single prize knockout early, which like could happen. Probably not, but if that does, that's awkward for you. And also, you could be playing Briar, and that could be messed with Mega Kangaskhan. Anyways, Mega Kangaskhan though, isn't like a huge liability though because it has 300 HP here. And fighting's not like that good. But anyways, Mega Kangaskhan, pretty solid, pretty well rounded here. The attack isn't going to be the focus in too many decks, but any deck playing it could theoretically power it up and get value out of it. And then there are definitely a decent amount of decks that can like reasonably power it up. Because I said any deck can, but if you're playing like this in like Gardevoir or Goldengo or something, you're never going to get this powered up unless something goes like really wrong. But then if you're playing this in like I've seen it played in some different toolbox decks. So if you're playing it in like Arm Rouge box or something, which isn't like super good, Joltik box, I guess, or something like that, those are probably a little better. Then yeah, you could play this. You could get value out of it for being an attacking option. I guess the like single price thing is a bigger deal in a Joltik box. Your Joltik gets knocked out, your Mega Kangaskhan gets knocked out, and then a 2 price gets knocked out, then you lose, as opposed to your Joltik getting knocked out and two prizes getting knocked out, and you haven't lost yet. So, anyways, this card is interesting. It's not absurd, but it's pretty solid. And yeah, I am looking forward to it. I think it's a nice little draw card, but not crazy. Then we have the last Mega that's going to be on this list here, which is Mega Camerupt EX, my favorite Mega out of all of them. And it's pretty good here for 1 fire, doing 80, but if your points active is burned, it does 160 more. 240 for 1 fire is very, very solid. Actually, no, it's very, very good. It's like a little conditional, right? You need your points active to be burned. There are a few ways to do it. They're not like free or anything, but they're okay. And ultimately, I am a believer in this card. I don't think it's going to be absurd, but in terms of its typing, it's pretty solid. Hitting fire weakness is like fine. I mean, theoretically, hitting Goldengo for weakness is like good, but you're also one-shot anyways with burn. So it's actually bad because you're allowing your opponent to use Pheasantipede, so that's actually bad. And then or Caledon for weakness. But then in terms of hitting like grass Pokemon, there's like some that are okay, I guess. I don't know. Water is like not a huge issue though, so that's good. And then you can also do 280 for Fire Colorless, which sounds horrible, but there is triple acceleration energy, so it is usable. Is it something you want to be using in your deck? I think it's a fair option, but it's not crazy. And then you would discard the triple acceleration with the effect of the attack there. But ultimately, the first stack is very solid and efficient, requires a little bit of setup, but not too bad. It's tanky here, so it is a candidate for those healing effects like Turo's scenario. There's a Wally's Compassion supporter as well, which is kind of like Turo's. And ultimately, I think it's decent. I don't think it's absurd, but I think it's like a decent card here. I think it will be. I actually don't think it'll be a meta deck based on like the talks I've heard of it, because I haven't really heard about anyone playing it. But I think it could be like an okay deck here, in the caliber of something like, Flareon or something like that. Those like low tier but like still competitively viable decks. Where it's all right. So I do like this card quite a bit. I don't think it's absurd here though. But as we move into the top, wait, what was this? This was, yeah, okay. This was 7 on my list. Moving to number 6, though, I really like these cards. Lunatone here is the only single prizer on this list, I think, but it's pretty good in my opinion. And with the ability Lunar Cycle, you can, once during a turn, if you have Solrock in play, discard a fighting from your hand, basic fighting, and draw 3 cards. You can't use more than a Lunar Cycle each turn, though. Ability here. The Solrock is like an okay option as an attacker. It's kind of like Fan Rotom, but it is nothing special. Getting into play, though, it's like a little awkward because it isn't Buddy Buddy Pop unsearchable, but it's not like horrible. And then ultimately, you draw a bunch of cards, right? Comparing this to a Kangaskhan EX, 2 cards each turn with some setup. I guess Lunatone also has some setup here, but once it's going, it's kind of going decently well. It works really. It's one of the first pieces within the fighting support, which I mentioned with the Mega Lucario here. You're just going to be drawing a bunch of cards throughout the course of the game. Drawing cards is good. It's a basic here, so it's pretty easy to set up. It's not like absurd, but the draw engines and standard are kind of meh anyways. This is pretty good. I say moderate commitment. You're not tossing this into everything, obviously. You're probably putting in fighting decks. Maybe like Ceruledge, I guess it's good in as well. But it is a really interesting card here for just doing like adding a bunch of draw power to your deck. It's not going to be bailing you out of low hands generally, but it can do that, I guess, because energies are not that hard to find. But then generally it's going to be getting you into just more cards throughout the course of the game, which is always good here. It's a card that, comparing it to Radiant Greninja, I think it's a fair comparison there. It's not as good as Radiant Greninja, which was discard any basic energy, draw 2. It also had a good attack option there. But ultimately, Lunatone is still a very decent card, in my opinion. For draw, it's a card that the bench space isn't a huge issue, in my opinion. The fighting decks aren't playing too many bench Pokemon. From what I've seen here, I know some are playing more like the Hariyama and stuff, but ultimately I think Lunatone is not going to be a really an issue at all here in terms of like the downsides I've heard some people talking about. So it's a very, very solid card here. Then we have the number 5 card here. Moving into the top 5, these cards are very strong. I believe they're all trainers as well. And we got the Stadium here, Vitality Forest, saying each player's grass Pokemon may evolve into a grass Pokemon on the turn they were played, except for that player's first turn. Ultimately, evolving quickly is super good. The only doubt I have about this card is that the grass evolutions are kind of meh. If this was on like Dragon or something, this would be like completely nuts. It's not though. So grass is kind of meh slash kind of bad. It's like kind of infamously bad. But in standard, it's like kind of all right, especially with some of the newer pieces. But I'm not a big fan of it. But ultimately, or a big fan of the cards around it. Ultimately, though, evolving quickly is super good. It allows you to recover from things faster. It's not actually letting you get to your like stage 2 faster than you would with Rare Candy. But if you have nothing in play or like no previous evolutions, then it will get you there faster and get you there in exactly 1 turn. So your opponent doesn't have time to stop you before you're going. It has use within decks with a bunch of different grass lines or like grass tech lines like Cynthia's Garchomp. I don't know if tech lines, but like support lines that aren't your main Pokemon you're focusing on. So it's a really nice card here. Honestly, not too much to analyze. It's good because evolving quickly is good. It's like decently versatile. It just needs the right partners. I think the current partners like Mega Venusaur, Hydrapple EX, they're like super mediocre. So I don't know if I don't expect it to be good immediately, but in the long run, I do expect it to be very, very good. And immediately, I do think it's going to be a decent support or decent stadium here. Then we have the next card here, Fighting Gong. Fighting Gong is super good. Fighting Gong, honestly, every card on this list, as we go up 1 card, it's going to be a big jump in power. The Fighting Gong is super good. It's an item, search for a basic fighting Pokemon or basic fighting energy, reveal it, put into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Yeah, getting either of those is super useful and it's kind of versatile. We see this card as Netball for grass and as Fog Crystal for a psychic, and those cards were super good. Were they meta changing? I don't know if I'd quite go that far, but they're pretty good, right? And so this is a card that's going to be elevating the fighting type here a bunch. And it's going to be, in my opinion, I think it should be a 4 of in like every fighting deck. I don't know. I've seen like some Cynthia's lists like playing very few copies of it. And I do kind of get it because you're not playing as many fighting Pokemon. But I think this card's super good. And yeah, you're just like getting set up. You can compare it to Nest Ball. It's not objectively better than Nest Ball within like fighting decks because you're probably playing some non-fighting Pokemon. If you're playing like Mega Lucario with Lunatone Solrock, it is objectively better than Nest Ball. I guess it goes to your hand, which is probably better, but could be worse. I guess it also gets Hawlucha to your hand though. That's kind of fun. Not a super meaningful thing, but I will mention it. And then the fighting energy is like a nice little upside here, I'd say. It's going to be like replacing Pokemon search slots or replacing energy search slots, and yeah, just giving you more consistency. It's very very good. Again, not too complicated as to why it's good, but it is very good for all the fighting decks and theoretically decks that want to kind of splash in fighting stuff as well. It's interesting there. Then we have the number 3 card. This is another fighting support card. This is Premium Power Pro, another item here. Attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Comparing this to, that's not it, to Iron Defender here. Iron Defender is worse because you don't really have control over it, right? You have control over when you attack. Iron Defender impacts your opponent. Where is it? Your opponent attacking. Premium Power Pro affects you attacking. It's super good. We've seen cards like this in the past with Electro Power and also Power Tablet. Power Tablet's a worse comparison because it's very specific. It was very good, but then Electro Power was also very good, and I'd say that one was more like meta defining, comparing it to Fighting Gong, which is like a nice search option, but is kind of reliant on good fighting Pokemon, not truly elevating them. I think Premium Power Pro is going to be elevating Pokemon, like the Mega Lucario, also Cynthia's. I just think it's a crazy card. Um, Definitely going to see play. If any fighting decks seeing play, this is going to be like a potentially a 4 of, probably a 4 of. The only reason it isn't a 4 of is because it's not, helping you set up. So you need to make sure you actually set up and like can do something. But this is going to be elevating your deck a ton. It's super good. Yeah, not too much to analyze here either, but a very good card here. Then we have the number 2 card here, which is the Stadium Mystery Garden here, saying once during each player's turn, that player may discard an energy from their hand, draw until they have as many cards in hand as Psychic Pokemon in play. This card's very good within Gardevoir EX. Obviously, you're playing a bunch of Psychic Pokemon and some energies, and you want energies in your discard pile. You can also get rid of your Darkness energies. Not that you're, really looking to do that, but if you do, like drawing a bunch of cards, it's gives you more versatility / consistency with this card, so that's pretty good. Ultimately, I have seen this card not been played that much in Gardevoir as like time's kind of gone on. I really do think it's good in Gardevoir because drawing cards is like obviously very good. Again, like the Lunatone, it's not really bailing you out of bad hands. It's just drawing you more cards throughout the course of the game, though. And Gardevoir kind of can get the ball rolling, but kind of struggles to get all the energy in the discard and all your pieces in play, even when you have an okay hand. So that's where Mystery Garden is super good. You play Secret Box usually, and so certainly in Standard you're going to be playing Secret Box right now, and Mystery Garden slots really well with that. Overall, Mystery Garden, in my opinion, is just kind of absurd here. I kind of compare it to Genesect V, which in my opinion is, I don't know where it ranks in terms of all-time Pokemon, but it's got to be like pretty high up there, which is obviously a very, very good thing to say about it. And yeah, Mystery Garden is going to be drawing you a bunch of cards pretty consistently throughout the course of the game. Not every single turn, but throughout the course of the game, it will be drawing you maybe like 10 cards. I guess it can be bumped as well, so that is like a downside. And it could help your opponent as well. Probably not though, right? They're probably going to be playing a very similar deck to you if they are playing Mystery Garden. But ultimately, it's going to be drawing you a bunch of cards, and it's not that hard to set up. And it's a card that is a stadium as well, so you can bump stadiums with it if you want. And most decks aren't running a ton of stadiums. Ultimately, this card's super good. It's super good for Gardevoir, but it's not like just good for Gardevoir. That's kind of why I left Mega Gardevoir as an honorable mention. Mystery Garden is good with any Psychic deck. I guess the only Psychic deck that's really played in Standard is Gardevoir. I can't even think of another one that's actually played in the game. I'm sure there is like something, I think, but I can't think of it at all. Unless I'm like blanking on something. I guess you could put it in like Goldango for some draw, but that seems kind of silly. Because you got the gimme goals, but that seems really clunky. But anyways, it's a very nice card. I imagine it'll be really good for the Psychic type. And I imagine there will be a deck playing this as a 4 at some point because it's crazy draw here. Yeah, I would keep an eye out for this card. I think it's pretty underrated. I guess. I mean, I've heard people say it's very, very good, so I don't know if I can say it's super underrated, but I think it's an absurd card here. But the number 1 card is even more absurd than that. I guess it's not like game changing in the fact that it's like reshaping the meta. But this is going to be, in my opinion, the best card in the game when it drops. I do think it is better than every card in the game right now in Standard. And this isn't me like over exaggerating for hype about a new set. I really do think this is going to be better than like I guess boss and Iono. I don't know. It's like very different than boss. But it's like kind of like Iono. Iono shuffle draw six at the beginning of the game, and also kind of helping your opponent. And then obviously isn't a draw supporter at the end of the game. It's a disruptive supporter. They're not the same card, but it's determination, shuffle draw six. But if you have six prizes remaining which is the beginning of the game, or if the game's not going so well, a lot of the game, you shuffle draw eight. Shuffle draw eight is absurd. Shuffle draw six is like pretty good still. We saw Cynthia supporter shuffle draw six. Supporters were a little stronger in the metagame at that time, but I think Cynthia, if it was printed in standard, would still see play. This is better than Cynthia though, and like it's really shuffle draw eight like half the game, maybe not half the game, but a lot of the time shuffle draw eight. You can make it a lot of the game depending what you're playing. There are certainly decks that are like slower decks in the game. I'd say the meta game's not super fast or super slow, but ultimately Lilies is going to be a very strong card here. That allows you to just draw a lot, right? That's really all there is to it. It's a crazy draw supporter. But anyways, this set, as I said, has some really crazy trainers. The megas are kind of fun as well. And then there are some cool single prizes as well. They're cards that are fun that I didn't talk about. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the good stuff. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.